It's the end of an era in Destiny 2, and for real this time. It's the Edge of Fate Day 1. We got an article here. Let's jump in and see what people are talking about. There has been a lot of talk about how Destiny has had different eras over the years, but there's really only been one, even across 2 games. That is an interesting topic, actually. All the different eras. I mean, obviously, you've got the Light and Darkness saga is the big one, but really, D1 had each little year for the first 3 years of D1 had its own era and meta and talking points, things like that. And Destiny 2 has had definitely a lot of wild eras and times. But yeah, ultimately it's the Light and Darkness saga in terms of the narrative. And I guess we're jumping into a new one now. So this began in the first game when we learned very little about the mysterious power-giving orb, the Traveler, and darkness it was running away across the galaxy from. The ended? What the hell? Then it ended 10 years later in Destiny 2, and with last year's The Final Shape expansion, the darkness turned out to be a guy with a lot of arms and a smoky head, and the Traveler turned out to be kind of a dick. But it was thrilling end to a wild swing of ups and downs over the course of a decade. They stuck the landing, cue applause. But to quote Dr. Manhattan, nothing ends, nothing ever ends. Especially not in live service. Especially not when we need that money. We need that money. We got to keep the payroll going. You kidding me? That is especially true in the live service world, as Bungie now presses forward under massive pressure and expectations from Sony. Papa Sony is breathing down their neck, making them meet their deliverable expectations. I wonder what the pre-orders will be for Edge of Fate, actually. We were looking at it previously, the trajectory. We'll have to check it out again afterwards. Plagued by poor leadership and mass layoffs, the Destiny 2 team is doing what they can with a studio half the size it was a few years ago, with large chunks now working on non-Destiny projects. In the Forsaken years, this was once a company of 1,300 plus, almost wholly devoted to a single game, with even 2 support studios to tow. That's crazy to think about. 1,300 plus with Vicarious Visions, right? Was that it? They were working with PC. Now they're down to hundreds, and whatever the opposite of support is, that's what they've been given. All right. Destiny 2 is changing with the Edge of Fate live today. It's shrinking. There's a whole lot of wishy-washing about how much exactly it's shrinking, but it's going to be significant. The game has completely transformed from its large expansions 4 seasons model into a 2 smaller expansions and things called major updates in between. Smaller than a season and described more like an Into the Light bonus round type edition, which is obviously a roundabout way for Bungie to say, you know, we're doing less because we're only able to do less considering they have less dev teams. And so now they've restructured the whole content release schedule, right? And so now they're doing, you know, these 2 smaller expansions instead of 1 annual expansion, which sounds like you're getting more in some ways, but I think in hindsight, once this whole calendar year is over, we're going to look back and be like, wow, we got significantly less. Hopefully that's not the case. Only time will tell. But in practice, the facts are that the Edge of Fate launches with a new planetary zone that's apparently too condensed to require a sparrow. Yes, it's too small to even have a sparrow on it, which is sad. Not that I care about the grandiose size of it, but you know, you kind of expect the launch of the new saga, the new planetary destination, to be comparable to some of the ones that we got in the past. No new strikes, no new Crucible maps, no new Gambit maps. Listen, Gambit can stay dead. And no core playlist activities is definitely an interesting choice, Bungie. A smaller scale campaign, though there are 2 of them, given Renegades in the winter, and no new traditional season/expansion activity, but rather a playlist of campaign missions, and then 2 on-map activities. Fewer exotics than past expansions, far fewer in many instances. Overall weapon and armor totals remain to be seen. But of course, you could expect less. Like, let's be real here, all right? The goal now is to release expansion content, but moment to moment. Herd players into a series of portal playlists that range from the extremely basic Lost Sectors for solo players to the hodgepodge of Destiny's past in Fireteam Ops, Strikes, Battlegrounds, Empire Hunts, seasonal activities, and all other manner of things. A final portal offers tougher missions, right now just past exotic missions. All of this, all things we've played already, is meant to be juiced up using a new modifier system to make things more challenging or fun as you pursue a higher score for greater rewards, which again, I actually like this system. I think that this is overlooked. Because we're doing old missions, it's overlooked as being lame, which it is a lame element to it, but it does a good rework overall. I just wish it came in tandem with a bunch of new places to go, more new activities to do. Gear is getting streamlined into a simple tier 1 through 5 system where it's pretty clear that what that means. And it's pretty clear where you get those gear levels, something Destiny has been missing for a while. But we're going to be in an awkward transition phase as soft sunsetting slowly makes all gear not originally acquired under this system slowly worse. Nothing you already own can or will be tier 4 or 5. Armor is being torn down and rebuilt altogether for the first time since the entire mod system was introduced in the first place. I can agree it was probably long past time for that. Let's be honest. That is it. We are many years removed past the time when it was necessary to update armor. And you would not want your old armor to just be transitioned into the new armor system and already be, you're going to want to acquire new armor. Now, you should be acquiring new armor through said new activities, and the more challenging the activity, the better the armor, and it should be significantly better and advanced in its build crafting capabilities, etc., than previous armor. Like, it's pretty obvious how to make new armor, but this is a necessity that needed to happen for a long time. Armor has been trashed for so long. The story is, well, we barely know anything. The story is looking epic, though. Especially if we're talking about JFK conspiracy theories. We're cooking, all right? We're cooking. I don't care if you don't like that. I think it's getting interesting, at least. We thought we did, but none of it is going as planned. My theory, which mirrored many others, was that Heresy episode would end us taking the Dreadnought out of our solar system as promised and heading to new worlds in the galaxy. Possibly the homeworlds of some of our enemies. Boy, were you wrong about that one. I thought that too, though. I was like, yeah, obviously, Oryx is here. You know, we're going to take his Dreadnought, and we're just going to pilot this motherfucker out of here, you know, and go mess with people on Tora Bottle or whatever. I don't know. That was not what happened at all. Instead, I guess, like, we're going to, like, the edge of the solar system, and I guess there's just happens to be, like, a planet there, and then there's, like, more Fallen there. I guess we're just going to fight them. But, hey, they got jetpacks now. It's like, oh, okay. The pacing for Destiny 2 is, it's hard. Like, I don't want to place so much expectation on Bungie where it's like unreasonable for them to ever meet my expectations, but you kind of expected, I guess, like the end of the Light and Darkness saga, right? With like killing the Witness, that you therefore have to really go somewhere new. Like, it's almost like the Final Shape was meant to be a big delivery, but what comes after the Final Shape should honestly have been a bigger delivery, right? It should have honestly been a bigger delivery if you think about it, because that's the Destiny 1 launch over again. Like, that's meant to be like huge, and it's meant to draw in new players for the first time. But unfortunately, we got weakened, you know what I'm saying? We lost all these devs and all these layoffs just before this, and even during it. After the Final Shape launched to success, we got more layoffs. So instead, we were weakened. A debuff was applied to us at the most unoptimal time. It was not good. We had the debuff. We had the Pete Parsons debuff applied to us. We're going to need to patch this quickly. It's bad. It's real bad. And in the process of losing all of these devs, now we have to launch into this new saga, this post-Final Shape era. And we're launching in the post-Final Shape era. It's just not as hype. And it's like, this is meant to be that, like, this is meant to be that moment when a lot of new players are supposed to get interested in the game. And it feels like there's not that many. I'm hoping that we can look at the data afterwards and maybe we were wrong. Where's the old bulletin here? He did say that they was doing well on Steam. Destiny 2 is currently second best-selling game on Steam in the US and fourth globally. How is it the second best-selling game when it's a free-to-play game? Must just be talking about the Edge of Fate, I guess. I don't know how that works, but rather, we're not doing that. We're not leaving the solar system yet. We're stopping at the edge of the system at a made-up planet called Kepler. This is like, the problem with this is that this feels like this is a speed bump to where we really need to go, right? The general premise of this gives off Lightfall vibes, where you're like, oh, we were meant to do the Final Shape, but then Bungie needed more time to develop the Final Shape, so we're like, hey, let's just give them Lightfall, right? That's what it gives off, that Lightfall energy. Even if it's not, even if the narrative is much better than Lightfall, which, let's be honest, anything is a better narrative than Lightfall, all right? I could go to the bathroom and take a fucking creamy shit, and that is a better narrative than Lightfall. And this new era will put us in conflict/servitude with the Nine, the mysterious entity that has been with us since the first day Xur sold us exotics in Destiny 1, which is actually where my distrust for the Destiny community came from. I'm not speaking to you watching this right now because we're cool, but for the larger Destiny community, this is where the toxicity began, okay? If you want to speak on that note, we were recently reacting to videos, people talking about the toxicity in the community. It began at the beginning, okay? When you convinced me when you convinced me to not buy the Gjallarhorn from Xur, you said, "Oh, no. Don't spend your strange coins on a heavy exotic. You know, why would you? You want a power ammo exotic? You wouldn't want that. You're not gonna have ammo." You convinced me to not buy the Gjallarhorn from Xur, and it was in that moment spawned the toxicity. It spawned a divide, and 11 years later, here we are now. Since then, they've given us some seasonal activities, a dungeon, and a game show hosted by a sparkling horse, which I still think is a misstep in some ways. I feel like the 30th anniversary event was quirky. It was quirky, but it felt very out of character, right? Like Xur is not, like Xur is like a mysterious, you know, what was that even? Eventually we got to get an explanation. I feel like that wasn't really Xur, or like maybe that was like Xur's doppelganger or something. I don't know. Now Bungie is coloring them in, each member getting their own personality and set of goals. On Kepler, we have little idea how this is all starting on this microplanet that has somehow been pulling pieces of Earth's past through time. I mean, it's all weird enough where I'm interested, certainly. Yeah, true. So this is going to be a time travel chaotic mess. It could be good, though. It could be good. The narrative could be good. It's not that hard to make a good and compelling narrative. So don't hate on it just yet, narratively speaking. Now, if they were going to do a microplanet too, if they're going to do a small one, they should have just done Pluto. That would have been epic. Imagine if they added Pluto to the director. That would have been awesome. That was a big miss. If you like, say you have a smaller dev team, so you can't do as big a plan as before, you get the excuse of being like, oh, it's Pluto, you know? We couldn't have lost sectors on it because it's Pluto. This is a new, quieter era for Destiny. I agree. That's exactly how I feel about this. The player peaks of the final shape, the grand finale, are not coming back, and the Edge of Fate will be lucky to get a third as many players at launch. The question now is whether this new content has enough to retain the core players that make up the remaining base. But if Destiny can also simplify itself in its new post-light and darkness era to attract new players, or at the very least, bring back some who got lost. Some aspects of this feel like they can do it, but the overall sense of it's just too late tends to pervade. I'll be there as ever until the sun dies, it seems. That's how we feel. The doom and gloom content creators, right? They're always saying doom and gloom. To be fair, it's not all about doom and gloom. It's mostly just about giving like criticism and like being aware of the trends and like the paying attention to the population and pre-order numbers and understanding where is this game trending, right? And why is it that Bungie can't seem to build momentum and build and build and build? You know, it tends to be this like Bungie's graph tends to look like this. It's got the peaks and the valleys, and the peaks are sometimes really good, but the valleys are hitting really low. You know, you kind of want to have a moderate amount of success and stay consistent month after month, year after year, expansion after expansion. And obviously you're going to have peaks when something new comes, but you want the peak to go up and then bring you back down to a pretty moderate level of players and average play session time, things like that. We're entering a new era though. I don't want to enter this era too pessimistic, of course, but I also don't want to enter this era with toxic positivity. Like, oh, this is it, dude. This is the best Destiny's ever going to be. I don't want to lie. I don't want to mislead anyone. But I'll obviously be playing Destiny, even if it was the worst expansion ever. Even if there was like nothing to do, I would still be playing it just because I've been playing Destiny for so long. I have Destiny Stockholm Syndrome, and I will be playing until they shut down the servers. Until they shut down the servers like Anthem, I'll be playing this game, and then some. I'm in for Edge of Fate. And I'm going to be as fair as I can with all of everything that is brought up. I'm going to, you know, critique it in a way as fair and as unbiased as possible. Because I think that negativity for the sake of negativity is annoying. I really do. I think if you're just like, I hate this, I hate that, I hate this, it's like, you just hate everything. You know what I'm saying? Negativity for the sake of negativity is lame. Not interested in that. I understand there's a lot of people that are like that. I'm not like that. I want to like everything in Destiny. Genuinely. All right, look. See this number right here? This says 24,115.8 hours. You think I want to hate on that? Imagine you put 24,000 hours into anything. Whatever it may be, you must be pretty fucking passionate about it, right? Whatever it is. You probably have several hundred hours or thousands of hours in Destiny as well. And so you are right there with me.